Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hope you're doing well. We're continuing our reading of Dr. Salih al Fawzan's book on Aqida Tawhid, the creed of Islamic monotheism. He is a very prominent scholar, and there's much to be learned by him, so we're going to continue reading his book. Now, he was talking about the Shahada, right? And the way in which this is worded, this section, is the prerequisites of the Shahadatain, the conditions of La ilaha illallah, none has the right to be worshipped but Allah. Now, he said 7 conditions must be present, which were knowledge, because it precludes ignorance, certitude, which precludes doubt, acceptance, which precludes rejection, adherence, which precludes neglect, sincerity, which precludes polytheism, affirmation, which precludes denial, and love, which precludes its opposite, i.e. hatred. And so he's going on in the details. So where we left off, we were on this section of that section, so that we're in the subsection. Acceptance of the implications of this statement. That is, worshipping Allah alone and abandoning the worship of others besides Him. Whoever utters it and does not accept this, nor abides thereby, is of those about whom Allah said, quote, "Truly, when it was said to them, La ilaha illallah, none has the right to be worshipped but Allah, they puffed themselves up with pride, i.e. denied it. And they said, Are we going to abandon our aliha, gods, for the sake of a madman?" Quran 37:35 through 36. Okay, so you utter it, and you have to accept it, and you must abide by it. And you must abandon the worshipping of others besides Allah. This is similar to the condition of grave worshippers today. They utter La ilaha illallah, but do not abandon grave worship, so they are yet to accept the meaning of La ilaha illallah. Okay, now, he says, adherence to what it implies. Allah the Most High said, so we have a Quran verse here, quote, "And whosoever submits his face himself to Allah, i.e. follows Allah's religion of Islamic monotheism, worships Allah alone with sincere faith in the oneness of His Lordship, oneness of His worship, and oneness of His names and qualities, while he is a muhsin, good doer, i.e. performs good deeds, totally for Allah's sake, without any show-off or to gain fame, etc., and does them in accordance with the Sunnah of Allah's Messenger Muhammad, peace be upon him, then he has grasped the most trustworthy handhold." Quran 31:22. I wish they would have less brackets and just do footnotes. Just translate the text for us, and then you can have footnotes, right? And insert all that stuff, so it's less intrusive. So we know what the Quran says and not what's been injected, even though there's parentheses and brackets, still. And now he's going to explain more for us that the trustworthy handhold is the statement La ilaha illallah, and the meaning of submits his face is that he adheres to the worship of Allah with sincerity. So when we hear submit your face, it resembles the adherence of worship, because we do prostrate. And if you think about how you submit your face, it's like we turn to Allah, Allah's guidance, essentially, the religion, in order to try to have a navigate, like it's like our compass. So when we submit our face, we're looking at the compass to guide us. I noticed something. I don't know if I'm explaining it pretty well, but like my kid will often look at my face to see like if she's doing good or bad. She'll like look at me, and I'm like, "Why are you always looking at me?" She's looking for approval. She always turns her face to me for like acceptance, guidance, to see, and she tries to read my face if I'm pleased or not. And it's very interesting how everything she does, she looks back at me to see if I'm pleased or not. So maybe when we submit our face to Allah Azza wa Jal with sincerity, we're always turning to what we have to in terms of the Quran and the Sunnah in order to get guidance, and then turning in prayer, submitting our face to the literal ground, and submitting our faces when we make dua up. Just my 2 cents. Sincerity. Now this is the section on sincerity. Remember how he went through, this would be the 5th thing he went in on. So sincerity. This is the purification of deeds from all forms of shirk. Okay, now that sounds complicated. To purify your deeds from all forms of shirk by not intending with its utterance to attain any of the pleasures of this life. Now that's intense. That's intense. Let's read that again. You're sincere when your deeds are rid of shirk, and you're sincere when your intention is not towards attaining any of the pleasures of this life, or wanting to show off or be heard. Okay, so we must not show off, we must not want to be heard, and we must not do it just for the pleasures of this life. That's a unique form of shirk. Okay, Allah has prohibited to the fire anyone who utters the statement, La ilaha illallah, none has the right to be worshipped but Allah, seeking thereby only the face of Allah. Now, to be sincere in our worship, submitting our face to Him. Now, where sincerity comes with shirk, association of worship, the pleasures of this life, maybe that hints at you worshipping the dunya, worshipping the earth. To show off means you maybe worship the ego of the self, because you are entirely dependent upon the opinion of others for your own aggrandizement. And then to be heard, you want the notoriety. You crave it. You need it more than you need to please Allah. So maybe that's why it turns into a form of worship. Maybe he doesn't go in deeply in what he means by having shirk in your deeds. It almost sounds like it would be something else, because the worship of the self has many folds. And if you worship your own self, and depend upon your own self, and desire your own self, and put something before Allah, maybe then that's how it becomes a form of shirk. Because if you're supposed to put Allah first, that means you're worshipping Allah first, putting what Allah demands and decrees for you first instead of yourself. If you put yourself before Allah and you have a form of worshipping of yourself, maybe then that turns into shirk. And how do you worship yourself? By seeking pleasures of this world, thinking you're mighty because of the pleasure of this world, and showing off and being boisterous and wanting to be heard. Okay, now the affirmation is the next one. Affirmation. This means that he should utter this statement, affirming that it is the truth with his heart. So when you utter the statement, La ilaha illallah, none has the right to be worshipped but Allah, you need to say it with a strong affirmation, and you have to really believe it with your heart and know it's the truth. And you should utter it when you feel that. This is why when I took a while to study Islam, over a year, I got binded. It's like the faith became braided into my soul. And when I said my shahada, I actually had conviction. I had momentum. I knew what I was uttering. I knew what I was giving my oath to. And so when an imbecile, another YouTuber, tells me you were listening to the whispers of the devil by delaying your shahada, and you can just say the shahada and then go investigate what Islam is after, I did not agree with that at all. Yes, some people, they feel compelled, but I'm not part of this person heard 2 ayats from the Quran and then they said their shahada. I'm sure in the past, maybe there was people who had that, but today, if it's that quick, I just have a lot of doubts, even though you're not supposed to doubt a person's intentions. But how can you take a holy oath that if you leave, you can... Okay, so hold on. If it's true that apostates can get capital punishment, why would a person say an oath that they don't know nothing about except a feeling that has an actual death clause behind it? That would actually mean that you as a person are facilitating people to get a capital punishment because you're pushing them to say an oath that they may not be prepared to suffer the consequences for if they left. And there's no compulsion in religion, so if you're pressuring people and encouraging people to just mindlessly say their shahada, you're not really converting people. You're actually just spreading a fitna because you're creating more apostates. This is a very interesting one. Okay, so it says, affirming that it is with the truth with his heart. If he utters it with his tongue, but does not affirm it with his heart, he is a munafiq, a hypocrite and liar. Now this one is really interesting because if someone just says it and they don't really feel it, they're a munafiq, they're a hypocrite and a liar. We're not supposed to doubt their faith, but that person should know that it's not just a mindless thing you say. You need to really feel this in your heart, and you should only say it when you feel it in your heart, because then you're not a hypocrite. If you're just saying it because you want views, because you want, or you're pressuring people to say their shahada so you can get views on and clicks on YouTube, or so you can get following or money or you name it, you're a munafiq, you're a hypocrite, and that's not a good thing. Alright? And you need to fix that. He, the Most High, said, quote, "And of mankind there are some hypocrites who say, we believe in Allah on the last day, while in fact they believe not. They think to deceive Allah and those who believe, while they only deceive themselves. And they perceive it not. In their hearts is a disease of doubt and hypocrisy. And Allah has increased their disease. A painful torment is theirs because they used to tell lies." Quran 2, 8 through 10. Now notice this. If somebody is not really telling the truth about why they're a Muslim, and they're a hypocrite in their heart, well, they should know there's a painful torment that awaits. You better not do that stuff. Don't say you're a believer when you're not. You better watch it. Watch it out. Okay, now it says, love of this statement, its implications, and those who adhere to its implications. Allah, the Most High, said, quote, "And of mankind are some who take for worship others besides Allah as rivals to Allah. They love them as they love Allah. But those who believe love Allah more than anything else." Quran 2, 165. Okay, so if you adhere to the implications of the Shahada, you love it, you love that statement, you love Tawhid, you love to worship Allah alone, and you put nothing alongside Allah in terms of worship. You should love Allah more than anything else. The people of La ilaha illallah love Allah with a pure love, while the people of idolatry love Him and love others along with Him. This negates the implication of La ilaha illallah. So if you have a pure love for Allah, you are incapable of associating partners with Him. So pure love is when you have no form of idolatry. So idolatry, in essence, takes away the love you have for Allah because it's not channeled into this one specific area. Interesting. MashaAllah. So, what we learned thus far, just to recall, is that sincerity to the Shahadatain is to rid your deeds from all form of shirk. So you need to purify your deeds. You need to adhere to what it implies. So by doing so, you're enacting it to your life. So accept the implications of the statement. And you have to have certitude. So if you utter it, you need to be convinced of what it implies. Do not have doubts, because doubts are not going to benefit you. You need to have knowledge, because if you don't have knowledge about its meaning, then you won't really get the intent. And if you don't get the intent, then, well, that's going to negate how you establish it. Because knowledge precludes ignorance about it. So you need to have knowledge about what the Shahada means, what the prerequisites are, everything. Wow, so knowledge about what establishes it, knowledge about its meaning, knowledge about what negates it. Wow, it's pretty powerful. It really is letting us know in this book every aspect. Have certainty, knowledge, acceptance, sincerity, affirmation. It's multiple layers here for us to love this statement. Very insightful. We don't want to be a hypocrite, because there's a painful torment for us, and if we're a hypocrite, we're not really going to get the benefits of it. We need to recognize all of the implications that holy oath entails. I hope you learned something. I know I did. If you'd like to join the blog, it's www.subscribestar.com/MilanArchive. Hope to see you there. Have a good day.